Welcome to the Opal Foundation series. In this 4-chapter episode, Orchestrating Exceptional Guest Experiences, we welcome Cate Abbott, Director of Social at Target.
Cate, in our previous chapter, you talked about how you take your vision, your style of leadership, and you take your vision to translate it to your team. And that's an important way to really align everybody right from the very beginning. So now let's go a little broader now. In your experience throughout your career, how do you ensure that your team's work is aligned to that bigger brand objective, not just the vision, but really the objective that all the leadership has put a lot of time into developing?
Sure. We have both company and team rituals that keep us pretty focused. And so even from an internal website that really outlines what our mission and what our strategy is on an annual basis that is available for anyone to look at any time. But I would say that really all of the work that we do is foundationally rooted in the overarching strategy for the company. So I don't think you'll find very many people who don't know what our strategy is as a company. But we then also have those rituals like annual planning and annual goal setting and strategy share outs across cross-functional teams. It does all really start with asking the question, what are we setting out to do? And making sure everyone involved understands and is aligned. And I mean, again, it goes back to that seems so basic, but it doesn't always happen. We get pretty focused on the fire in front of us and getting what we need to get done. So we pretty frequently have to just sort of lift our heads up, take a deep breath, and just make sure that everyone is understanding, where we're headed
Right.
From a big corporate standpoint to even just the team.
Yeah, can't undervalue how much alignment is critical.
Yeah. So as a brand, we're really focused on bringing joy, happiness, and opportunity to our guests. And our social strategy is really built to deliver on that in ways that are native and nuanced to the channel. And of course, this is a lot easier said than done, right? My joy might be wandering the aisle of a Target store, while your joy might be contactless drive-up pickup for your essentials,
Sure.
right? So in social, if it's just really not about the product even as much as it's about the feeling our content evokes in someone. So from, seeing something on social and saying, wow, I didn't even know I needed that, to, wow, that content really spoke to me. It's like they get me, right?
Yeah.
So like when something that we create goes viral, which, of course, everybody wants us to create things that go viral. And we all know we don't have a ton.
Walk in one day and they say, okay, go viral today.
Yeah, exactly.
Be funny today.
There's a great meme that I have at the end of a deck from last year. It's like me when my boss says, let's make it go viral. Anyway, when something does go viral for us, though, it usually is because it's timely and relevant and, sort of holds a temporal universal truth, right? Often one that can only come from us. And, of course, there's internal guidelines and rules that we follow to make sure that anything we put out into the world will strike the right chord with our guests and the general public, frankly, to ensure that we are contributing to delivering the Target brand experience for guests on a much more emotional level than an ad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In maintaining that alignment to that bigger picture that you talked about, how does your team keep aligned or stay connected, right? So that you can really produce effectively for all the guests, in Target speak, right? All the guests that you have across all those different channels. And I would also want to know how that maybe has changed in the pandemic, but in general, how do you guys stay connected?
Well, I think one really important ritual for us is we do gather every morning. We used to gather in what we would call Guest Central, which is where we all worked, sort of a command control for social at Target, back when we were actually going into the office. But so now we gather every morning at 9:30 via Zoom, and we just talk about what the top headlines are, what is bubbling up from a Target-specific conversation in social, anything happening in culture that we may want to be a part of or take into consideration as we start flighting content. Our intent is really to make sure that we're aware of what's happening in the world so that we don't send anything out into the world that might land as tone deaf or be misunderstood by its recipient.
Do you find, as the leader, do you do more sharing or more learning in those moments?
Oh no, I would say I'm definitely a learner in those moments. And we sort of had different iterations of this meeting, and my original idea for it was to be this really sexy, fun TMZ style newsroom. And we obviously don't live in LA, so there's one barrier that I didn't consider when I thought about this. But I think it's just really, what we've determined for is, knowledge is important, and we need to understand what's happening in the world in order to kind of go forward in our day. We have been known to, make decisions to pull certain content or make changes in certain content given what's happened in the world.
Thank you for watching this chapter of the Opal Foundation series. To view the entire episode, please visit workwithopal.com/blog.